Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Happy New Month and happy Canada Day to our friends up north, eh? Welcome to New Life Live. I'm Brian Perez. We're taking your calls for 2 hours, and if you want to get some free advice, we are looking forward to hearing from you. We've got clinical psychologist Dr. Jill Hubbard here, and Dr. Jim Burns, the founder of Homeward, and whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's grief or addiction, we are here to help you at 1-800-229-3000. We can even talk about what Dr. Jim Burns has on his mind, which is...
You know what was on my mind was, why do Canadians say A? Somebody needs to let us know that, because they do.
They do.
And I have no idea why, and I love Canadians, and I speak quite a bit in Canada, and I've never asked anybody that question.
Well, we say, huh?
Yeah. So maybe they just say, it's just part of their sentence.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Could be.
Hey. Okay. Well, in honor of them, I'll say A. I actually have something on my mind. And, you just said, Brian, you talked about addictions and other issues. And again, on this show, we say, go get counseling help, get an assessment. Sometimes we need medical. We don't give medical advice, but go get help. Go to your doctor. I think sometimes when things are coming our way, we have to simply learn to rise above our circumstances. And I've been trying this for years, to be honest, because I can let something spin and then I'll spin and, then I just go downward. I really think we have to learn to do that. And I've been doing something, I'm just sharing this with y'all. Maybe this will help you. I wake up every morning and I say, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Now, the Bible says, let us rejoice. Mm-hmm. I've changed it to my own, the Jim version. I hope that doesn't bother anybody. But just, I will rejoice. And I'm not, kind of playing Pollyanna, or I'm not faking it. I am going to choose joy in the midst of crummy circumstances. And I have many reasons to do that. One of the reasons is salvation in Jesus Christ. My Lord saved me when I was 16 years old, and my life has been transformed. My family's life, there's a trajectory that's changed. And so I think this rising above our circumstances has something to do with learning to rejoice regardless of what's being thrown at us. Now, again, I'm not saying don't face your issues. What I am saying is some of these issues, just with our attitude, we can make that change. I say to people all the time, your circumstance may not change. And I wish I could change every circumstance. We can't do this on the show. Mm-hmm. We can't do that when somebody calls in. But our attitude can change, and that makes the difference. And so, we just had our house flooded. And, there, on the line of all the problems in the world, that is not a major deal. But for us, it was 2 months ago, and we just got our furniture back, and we're still in a mess. And we let that spin us for some reason. And that was the craziest thing. We didn't need to let that spin us. I mean, sure, it's a problem. Face it and, move on. And so there's another thing that I've talked about here on the show before, not in this type of a segment, but I call it thank therapy. And the Bible says, in everything you do, give thanks, for this is God's will for you. It doesn't say for.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It says in. So I found even in my mom's death, which, experienced grief and sadness, and I still do. But in it, in my mom's death, she's now not in pain. She's with Jesus. That's a cool thing. Number two, she kind of brought our family back together in a really neat way. So there's reasons to do that. So I'm going to challenge everybody to rise above your circumstances, especially even as we kind of come into the holiday, this summer holiday, lots of things happening, families, craziness. Rise above your circumstances. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it.
Very good. Jill, any thoughts?
I love that.
Yeah.
I think attitude, you're right, makes a huge difference in our level of hope.
Yeah.
Right?
It brings hope.
Mm-hmm, it does bring hope.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will return and we're going to get right to the phone calls. So give us a call at 1-800-229-3000. Sylvia, you'll be up first, and anyone else who wants to talk to Dr. Jim Burns or Dr. Jill Hubbard, give us a call. We're going to be taking your calls for 2 hours today. If you're watching us online on Facebook or YouTube, we welcome you to call in as well, because we want to help you get on that right path at 1-800-229-3000.
I went to Every Man's Battle in 2012. My sexual integrity was not what it should have been. I sought out affairs, whether physical or emotional. Until I came to Every Man's Battle, I didn't understand that would never fill that void.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity. Impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
The shame and guilt was overwhelming.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
You will discover what the true root of your pain is, and you will discover how to overcome.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Dallas, Texas, July 18th through the 20th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Enter the code NLL for a discount.
Every Man's Battle saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Hey, if you are looking for a Christian counselor, you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and we'll connect you with one in your area. Some even offer teletherapy. But if you want to talk to us here today on the radio program, it's 1-800-229-3000. And we're going to start with Sylvia, who is in Turlock, California, watching us on YouTube. Hi there, Sylvia. Thanks for calling New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. A quick backstory. In the beginning of June, I learned that my best friend of almost 35 years had a stroke and was in the hospital. And at first she was responding with fingers and thumbs up, and she knew her family was there, and it was hopeful. And then they said that she was brain dead, and the family needed to make a decision, and the family decided to pull the plug. And even after they did that, she was breathing on her own for over 24 hours, so they were hopeful. And then after that, she passed away. And that was in the beginning and the middle of June. And I also have another best friend who had been dealing with stage 4 cancer, and I was believing and praying for healing. And she was in hospice, and a few weeks after Rachel passed, just days after Rachel's funeral, my best friend also, Letha, passed. And so in the month of June, I lost both of my best friends.
Oh, my goodness.
And I just need some help getting through it.
Wow, Sylvia.
Wow.
So sorry.
Sylvia,
So sorry to hear that.
Sylvia, I am so sorry. That is a lot. It's hard enough to have one person go. And Sylvia, how old are you?
I'm 53.
Okay. So still on the young side to have your friends dying around you. You know, at a certain age, I feel for my parents' age, because they lose their friends, all the time. But I know that heaviness. I actually lost someone very dear to me recently, and the heaviness that has lingered, that just is there, day in and day out, that you just feel sad. And I think that's a really normal part of grief. Like, you don't feel like doing as much, and you think about the person and the things maybe you wished you had done, or if you could just see them again. And so I think there's a lot of reflection that goes along with grief, and that is important. I don't know if these families were having services for your friends. Is that happening?
Yeah, we had this service for Rachel.
Okay.
About a week and a half ago. That was the first best friend.
Yeah.
And then days later, Letha passed, and I don't know whether the family's going to have a service. Letha told me that it was her wish to be cremated. She lives in Ohio, and we are all in California.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the process is going to be like, but my grief is just like intertwined. I'm journaling and speaking about Rachel in one sentence, the next sentence, Letha, and I'm just lost.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're doing that. So I think where you're at, it makes a lot of sense and is appropriate. So when you say you're lost, I think you're in the middle of the grief, really just getting past the shock of it. And journaling is really good. I think if you can talk to other friends that knew them, family members, I realize, because a lot of times when people are, like even older, they don't always do services. Right. And I realize how we need that time. It's not for the person who died. It's for us to come together and to corporately grieve and to have a touchstones with others who knew her. And that connecting helps our brains. It helps us in the grieving process to not be alone with it. So whether they have a service or not, you've already had one, but reaching out and talking to people, because it's really easy to isolate. I've even found myself, doing that a little bit in my grief. And so try not to do that. Try to, talk to people who, like I said, knew them and cared about them, that you can share some thoughts and some memories and just how you're feeling. And then give yourself some time. You've got a double whammy here. And and I don't know if you've had other losses in your life, but each new loss brings up old losses as well. Sure. So be aware of that.
Yeah.
Jim?
Well, and again, my deepest sympathy goes to you. You have what we call complicated bereavement because, there's grief. Someone dies. Sometimes I just did a funeral on Wednesday or Friday of a man who was 92 years old. He was an incredible man. It was a celebration of his life. And I don't think the grief will be as deep as both of the good friends of yours, So it's complicated bereavement. And when Jill says, journal, keep it up, keep talking with people, because that does heal. But also know name it by naming it as grief or bereavement, because when you name it, then you at least know you're going through it. There's not an easy route. I wish there was. I wish there was a magic wand. If people tried an easy route, it doesn't work. So you might even you could even Google this, or you could talk to a counselor about it, but you could talk about the stages of grief, because you're going to go through some of those stages. And to have knowledge on what those stages are is really, really key. One of the things I've found that is very helpful when a loved one is away. I have another friend who died. I had somebody who died this last month, and they had the funeral. I couldn't be at it, and it was in another part of the country. And he was a songwriter, a Christian songwriter. And I haven't done it yet, but I am committed to going. I live by the beach. I'm committed to taking a walk on the beach. I know some of his songs, and I'm just going to sing those songs. I'm going to have a conversation with God about him, and I'm going to kind of reflect on it. He sang in our wedding, in Kathy's and my wedding, and we were so sad we were unable to be there to just be there for his family and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, I'm going to have my own service. And again, my own service may be really short, and part of it's going to entail walking and drinking coffee, okay? But the point being is that I want to focus on him, and I want to look at all the good things about our relationship. I haven't been with him for quite some time, but Kathy and I did this, as a couple. We talked about, the day of our wedding, and then we talked about his 21st birthday that was at our house, just me and my wife and him. And it was, he was having a great time, I'm sure. But literally all of these things, it was really healthy for us to have that. And go ahead.
There's a tradition that Jewish people have that I think is really cool. It's called a Shiva.
Yeah.
And what they do is they gather together, or like during COVID, my son and I attended one for a father of one of his friends. And so we did it over Zoom. And so they had like an hour and a half. Yeah. And people just shared stories and memories and thoughts about this person.
Right.
For an hour and a half.
No, it's healing.
And it was wonderful.
Yeah, it really is healing. Yeah. We at this one that I did on Friday, I let people talk from the open mic, and we actually laughed. We cried. But it was so healing for all of us. At the end, I said, was this healing or what? Just to hear stories of this incredible man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do that if you can.
So Sylvia, Yeah, you're in the midst of it. And maybe, think of things to, honor your friends. Something that you're journaling, maybe something that's symbolic. Plant a rose bush for each of them in your garden.
Well, that's a great idea.
Something like that. I mean, even when my pets die, we do a little 5-minute service. We read a little scripture and we thank the Lord for, our time of enjoyment with these pets, so that we acknowledge their passing and their importance in our lives.
What do you think, Sylvia?
Yes. First, I wanted to send my deepest condolences to Jim on losing your friend.
Yeah.
And I think all of those are great ideas.
Yeah.
I do have a counselor who I'm going to be speaking to next week. And so, I know that's going to be helpful. But thank you for some direction. I know that certain stages of grief, and, after Rachel passed, it took me a few days before the first tear fell. And Lisa passed a few days ago, and just today, I shed tears over Letha. So, I'm in those different stages. First it was shock and unbelief, then a little bit of anger, and now sadness.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it right.
You are.
Sometimes when people call, what we want to say to them, sometimes we'll try to give them advice. What we also need to say to you is, Sylvia, you're doing it right. You're going through the process. And you know what? That turns painful. Mourning, the Bible talks about this, mourning into dancing. And truly, there is a time when you will be with your friends in paradise, and there will be some dancing. But you go through the right, proper mourning in something like this, and it actually doesn't take away the pain or the loss, but what it does is it also adds some of the beauty of the relationship that you had, and how fortunate that you could say, we heard this. You have you lost two best friends.
Yeah.
There are people who don't have any best friends, with the amount of people who are lonely and sad, and they would say, well, I have acquaintances, but I don't even have best friends. So you are a blessed woman, and you're doing it right.
Sylvia, thanks for calling in today. We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Workbook for Grief. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. And now here is Peggy, who is in Los Angeles, listening to us on KKLA. Welcome, Peggy, to New Life Live.
Hello. Good day.
Good day to you. What's your question for us today?
I'm calling about my daughter. My oldest daughter has been a strong-willed child, and she grew up always fighting with everybody and always bossy with her two younger siblings. Anyway, at 23, she was working, just finished school and was working and everything, but she just kept, getting along, especially her younger sister was the moody kind of person, and so they were always fighting. Her younger sister would come back from school and there would be all this. So I was tired. I was divorced and hardworking, and I just didn't have time. So I told her to move out. I was 9 years ago. She has never forgiven me for that. And now, so she blocked me on her phone, held that against me, fighting with everybody, doesn't talk to anybody, says everybody hates her. I suddenly got a text from her this weekend, and she was like, it's still the same thing. Nothing has changed. Everybody hates me, so I'm trying to see if I can make peace with her. But she has this conviction that everybody hates her. And then, so I don't know. I tried to text her back and she hasn't responded again. So I don't know if she's going to respond again or if she blocked me again. But I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah.
Jim?
Well, we use a word around here called validate her feelings. And her feelings are, for example, when I was in youth ministry, I would say about kids, crisis is self-perceived. So it could be the death of a loved one, or it could be that they have, a blemish on their face, and it was still their crisis, right? So whenever you can with her, especially because it's had such a length of time, if she gets, you don't have to tell her she's wrong. You don't have to tell her you're right. But literally, if you validate her feelings, I'm so sorry you feel that way. I do love you, and there is not a day that goes by without me thinking about my love for you. And I know God loves you. And I just want to say, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. And I can see why you feel that way, especially because of even what we've been through in these last times. And that's validating her feelings. Her feelings may not be right, Peggy, but the point being is if you validate, that typically brings them toward you. Now you just made a move that says, I'm your mom and I'm safe. And that's what she wants. So I love that she reached out. And I think you validate her feelings whenever you can.
Peggy, really quick question. You said she moved out 9 years ago. Does she live nearby, or does she move across the country, or?
Across the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so you haven't seen her in these 9 years.
I went one time. I went, and she refused to see me.
Wow. Okay, so we've got to take a break. We will continue our conversation in just a little bit here on New Life Live, and we're taking your calls for 2 hours today at 1-800-229-3000. We'll hear what Dr. Jill Hubbard has to say to Peggy and to everyone else on the phone right now and who calls in. 1-800-229-3000.
I was stuck. I was so stuck. 27 years married. My husband addicted to pornography for the majority of our marriage. I was very isolated and didn't really know which way to turn.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 7th to the 9th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
You guys helped me figure out what was going on.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
And we're speaking to Peggy, who called in from Los Angeles, listens to us on 99.5 KKLA. Welcome back, Peggy. And Dr. Jill Hubbard, what did you want to say to Peggy?
Well, Peggy, I am sorry because no matter what our kids' ages are, you know, we love them so much, as you were saying, and this is so hurtful, this type of interaction and this blaming behavior. Jim, I like what you said about validating because you do want to kind of disarm them. You don't want to start defending and giving reasons because that makes them feel misunderstood. Yeah. So even if you disagree with them, to validate that you could, like you said, that I can see how you could feel this way. But I also think that, you know, sometimes, and you're saying she was strong-willed, and I'm wondering, Peggy, does she have problems with other people as well outside of the family? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
she's been somebody that was, you know, she has a very strong personality, and people fear her because she just presents this image, and she's very alert. She notices things. She's sensitive, and she has a very strong personality.
Okay. Yeah. So she burns bridges a lot, it sounds like, and she doesn't want to take responsibility for that. So I would imagine that every time she has a rupture out in her personal life, she brings up this wound from the family and blames. And so at times, if you're talking to her, if you're able to talk to her, and she's blaming, and you can validate, I know, the family life was so hurtful for you. What's going on now? Is there more hurt that you're experiencing? Because we lump things together a lot of times, and we'll bring that out. And so she can, rail on you because you're that safe person, and take out her anger when maybe she doesn't feel like she has as much power in her other relationships. And so, so I have some awareness of that and try to get off of how she feels, and this feeling of everybody hates me. Oh, that would feel terrible to feel that way. Have you talked to people? Do you, is that really true? You can also challenge it once you've given enough empathy. And I was saying at the break, my son, during his senior year of high school, I actually put the club on his car and took his car away from him for almost his whole senior year. And he has at different times blamed me and said, because you did that, that's the reason I have problems. It's like, oh, okay, well, a car is a weapon and I had to keep you safe. Right. So, but at the same time, I understand that was kind of humiliating for him, and that was a struggle, right? And so we're able to kind of laugh about it now. So, his personality is a little bit different than what you're describing in your daughter. It does sound like she isn't at a place where she has taken responsibility. Right. So the more, so giving her empathy, because you are the person who will be there. You want to be in her life, but you also have to have some self-preservation here, and it doesn't mean we just take it from our kids. So after we've validated them and given them empathy, if they continue to rail, then, like I said, point to her personal life, but also ask, is there any responsibility that you can see on your part for being in this situation? Yeah. Is there anything that you could take ownership of, sweetheart, that might make a difference, that you actually have control over?
Yeah. What I hear you saying is that we have to sometimes earn the right to be heard. Mm-hmm. And so we earn the right by showing empathy, but at the same time, there is a time when we must bring things like that up. But what I'm going to say, Peggy, is not to do it in the heat of the battle. Let's say she comes at you. That's not the time to bring that kind of like, well, what's your part of this story, But the only way you can stay in the story is to keep the relationship. But again, there comes a time when she reached back out to you. That's a really good thing. Mm-hmm. And there will be a time when, I think, not in the heat of the battle, but some other time when you can do what Jill is saying. And you can help her reframe. She's going into the self-pity party, but partly it sounds to me like it's kind of she's to blame for this. Mm. So how do you? But where do you fit in? How did that? Maybe she'll tell you about a broken relationship she's had over these last 9 years. Well, how did that fit in? How does that fit in? Was that all him, or was that all her, or is that part? Where did you fit in? And if you can be in that kind of relationship to ask good questions, that can help. And then also, she probably needs counseling. So the kind of thing when you can say, what, honey, I kind of did some research, and there's some really good counselors in your area that you may want to, talk to. The hard part is you're not nearby, so it's not like you can talk face to face very often. But you might be able to do some research.
Well, and probably DBT, dialectical. I can never say that word right. Dialectical behavioral therapy might be a really good one for her, because it does help people who tend to maybe make poor choices in relationship to kind of sort out and own their part and make some better choices. So that could be a good type of therapy for her, Peggy.
Yeah.
When you're looking.
Should we send her a copy of your book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children? Okay, we will do that. It's available in the newlife.com store. But Jim, really quick, and we're coming up to our break, the book is titled Doing Life with Your Adult Children. Peggy right now is not really doing life with her daughter. So how would this help her?
Well, I think it helps her because it'll help her reframe some of the conversations, some of the thinking about what she can do in the future. The bottom line is to help them become responsible adults, and it sounds like her daughter hasn't really made that complete move yet.
Yeah. All right, thanks for calling in today. We're going to get to more phone calls in just a moment here on New Life Live. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call to talk to Dr. Jim Burns and Dr. Jill Hubbard, who are going to be here for the rest of this hour and next hour as well. So get your call in, and we will do our best to help you with whatever it is you're going through at 1-800-229-3000.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to Intimacy and Marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy and Marriage Weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program.
You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource, or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Ladies, if you've experienced sexual betrayal, we want you to visit our website, newlife.com/restore. That page there, specifically, where you can download a free guide that we've got there to help you deal with the trauma. You'll also find short interviews you can listen to with women who have experienced betrayal and hear what helped them in their healing. But wait, there's more. Our next Restore Healing After Betrayal weekend workshop is starting November 7th in Washington, D.C. We'd love to see you there to start your path of healing like thousands of other ladies have already done. Again, go to newlife.com/restore or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Here is Lorena, who is calling in from Rockville, Maryland, listening on the New Life app. Hey there, Lorena. Thank you for downloading the app, and thank you for calling 1-800-229-3000.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate your taking my call. I love what you guys say all the time, the counseling you provide free of charge, so that's a blessing. So thank you. My question is got to do with my 11-year-old nephew. How can I help him with his identity? What can I say to him to steer him away from the LGBTQ lifestyle?
Why are you asking this question, Lorena?
Well, I believe he's told his parents he identifies as non-binary, and he likes to wear pastel-colored clothes, wears a bag. He even as a toddler, he preferred girl toys over boy toys. Mm-hmm. He also prefers to have girlfriends, no boyfriends. So, yeah. And I just don't want to ignore him or ignore, he dresses very oddly. So I just don't know how to approach it as an aunt.
Does he have siblings?
Yes.
Okay. Older, younger, boy, girl?
He is the youngest. He's got a twin sister and 2 older siblings.
Okay. What would you guys say?
Well, Lorena, what about his parents? How do you talk to them about it?
We have briefly talked about it, but mainly what they expressed to him. His mom is mainly, my brother doesn't really talk to me about it much, but his mom, my nephew's mom, does. She says that, she told him that she's raising a boy, and as far as that as much as she can, she'll just buy him clothes for boys, even though they're like pastel colors and things like that. Mm-hmm. But she just tells him, I'm raising a boy, not a girl, not anything else. And that is her conversation with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lorena, I think 11 is a really important time because he's going through puberty. And so it's a time where they do, they start, in some ways, he's a young adolescent. We used to define adolescence as 13 to 18. Now we define it 10 to 22, 24. And so, it is a very important age to do it. And in a sense, I would get him as an assessment. I would have him, if I was the mom and the dad, I would, and you can suggest this to them, that they would get an assessment, have him look at just what he's feeling, what he's thinking. Here's the deal. At his age, he's probably online. There is so much information and misinformation about, calling yourself non-binary. So one of the things you can do is be the safe aunt. I think you come alongside of him, you take him out for whatever his favorite meal is, and you don't preach at him, but you just simply say, so where is this all coming from? How do you even know the term non-binary? Who taught you about this? Because a lot of times it'll be a significant friend who maybe is also going through what we call gender identity confusion. And so they'll say, I think you're probably, a girl, or you're, at least a homosexual because you wear those kind of clothes. And so, I know a young woman who dresses more like a guy just because she likes to wear, jeans and boots. And somebody said, you're probably gay because you don't wear dresses. And she goes, well, maybe I am. Well, she didn't know. She was 11, right? She was probably more 13 now that I think about it. So I think being that safe aunt, that can help you like crazy to be the person that, that he may want to then share with. One of the things I like to help kids at a certain age understand, and actually this is the age, what's crazy about it is this is the age, because again, they're being influenced like crazy. Where it didn't used to be the case, but at 11 now that's the case.
No, it used to be that they would dye their hair different colors.
Exactly.
And trying on different personas for size.
Or, even,
and now it's
right.
gender.
And maybe more girls, but they would cut themselves, or they would get an eating disorder, and nobody thought that was a good idea. But this kid is getting all kinds of acceptance from others because of the culture. So I like to use 3 words: culture, gender, and authority. Our culture changes, and again, an 11-year-old can begin to understand this, but he's being influenced by the culture. So the culture changes. Again, we just said this. Years ago, and not that many years ago, they were going to experiment behavior differently than they do now with gender. So gender is the big thing. So there's culture, then gender. And help them understand. I think you can help him understand that, God created male and female, and God created, but some males do like, wearing pastel clothes. That's okay. You can be male and wear pastel.
Well, I think there can be a whole range of how to express your maleness.
Sure, exactly.
And you can be a highly creative, colorful male.
Exactly.
Or you can be, the other end of the
sport
spectrum.
But what we do, we tend to think it's all the athlete or whatever. And then authority. God has, when this is the perfect age to teach them what does the Bible say about, without preaching or lecturing, because that's not going to work. But what does the Bible say about gender? And the Bible's actually pretty clear. And so what we want to do is teach them what, the Bible, even in the Old Testament, that was written thousands of years ago. Jesus is, around the 2000 mark. So even that's New Testament, so in the Old Testament. And I think we want to teach them, what the Bible does have to say. Because a lot of kids at 11 don't understand. They don't have a biblical worldview. They don't understand that. And sometimes a loving and caring aunt can do that in a more effective way than parents who are like, over it, or, they're just trying to get through Thursday. And so I really encourage you to do that. And, honestly, if your nephew was willing, maybe you go through a book or a course on, sexual integrity. There's good ones out there in the Christian world. And
don't you have one?
Yeah. We've got a book called for his age and it's written for him. I mean, it's kind of funny and it's short version, short paragraph, or, that you could read together with him and say, hey, let's just go through this. What do you think? It may change his mind because honestly, he's probably never had those kind of conversations. Most kids don't have the conversations from their parents. So, we have it here, a Student's Guide to Sexual Integrity. And that is for kids. But a lot of times what I suggest is mom and dad to do it. If mom and dad's not willing, the perfect person is an aunt who loves and cares.
And Lorena, I think I love everything you're saying, Jim. And I think don't be freaked out by it. Don't, kind of be not so emotional about it. You're just taking them out and you're just talking. Let's just talk about this. And talking about it without the intensity or without the, I've got to convince you right now to be different. No. You're exploring. And the more you can let him verbalize, the better. And this is not just one conversation. This is over time. Right? And I've worked with some kids that are non-binary. And it's like, okay, so you feel, let's just go with your 51%, male. And you feel the other, and so, okay, and so you feel kind of different. And a lot of times they're just asexual, right? And it's not really about sex. It's just they kind of just haven't developed their sense of self yet
you're
at
right.
all.
And that's where we say don't rush it. We have to say to them, don't rush it, because they'll rush into a relationship or whatever, and all of a sudden they go, well, I guess I am, because
And the focus needs to be on friendships, because a lot of times they lack like a best friend. Now, you said he hangs out with girls a lot. Okay, so right now, which is kind of, when kids are younger, they have, opposite sex friends, and then for a while they separate out. But so the idea of friendship being the most important thing right now, and everybody needs a best friend, and we get infatuated with our best friends. And that's just how the start of relationships goes.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, Lorena, thank you for calling in today to New Life Live. We're going to send you a copy of Dr. Jim Burns' book, A Student's Guide to Sexual Integrity. It's also available for purchase on the newlife.com store, so anyone listening who might benefit from this book, get it, again, at the newlife.com store. Thank you for calling in, Lorena. And it says here you are a Club New Life member. Thank you so much for being a Club New Life member. That is someone who supports the work of this ministry on a monthly basis. I'll tell you more about that when we come back here on New Life Live. Plus, we'll take some more phone calls. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call us, and we're going to be here for more than an hour in the studio. Call us up right now.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
You know, when you give towards the work of New Life Ministries like Lorena, who just called us a few minutes ago, you aren't just giving. You're offering hope to someone in their darkest moment. Yesterday, we gave hope to a woman who called in with guilt for putting her parents in a care facility, despite the fact that she was sexually abused by her father, who was also a pastor, and her mother not only knew about it, but was also abusing her grandchildren, the kids of our caller. How do you deal with stuff like that? We can help, but you can help by contributing towards our work with a financial gift of any amount. You can give online at newlife.com. You can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You can text NLM to 28950. And on our website, newlife.com, or when you call, you can find out about being a Club New Life member and supporting us on a monthly basis. Thank you so much for whatever you can do. Here is Marilyn, who's calling in from Austin, Texas. And Marilyn listens to New Life Live on podcast. Thank you so much for doing that, Marilyn. And how can we help you today?
Well, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right, super. Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to you for a while and just love your advice. I really appreciate it. I'm struggling with emotional eating. I know this is pretty common, and I've looked up things to do in this sort of case and such, but I thought I would reach out and maybe get a Christian perspective on it, as I feel I'm not being a good steward of the body that the Lord has given me. So I'll start there. I mean, I can tell you that in my family of origin, food was often used as a reward. And, family get-togethers, it was a focal point. And I emotionally eat now, not only when I'm lonely or bored, but also at the end of a day, even if I've had a good day, it's like it provides like a feeling of warmth, I suppose, of being embraced.
Comfort.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Marilyn, you're right. This is not an uncommon problem at all. And lots of people struggle with it to varying degrees. When you talk about, honoring your body being a temple, yes, that's all true and valid. But we don't want to add more, Christian guilt onto you for this. I think we want to look at the fact that when we emotionally eat, there's often, like you mentioned, lonely, bored, comfort, but there's often an anxiety that is going on. It can be just a low-grade anxiety, and you can even say, well, I don't feel overly anxious, but something that is unsettling there, and food works. Food works at shutting down and quieting those unsettling feelings, and that's why people do it. So I've often give this idea. You said you've looked up different ideas. One of the things to do is when you are aware that maybe you're eating other than a time for refueling, normal meal time, and because you're hungry. So first of all, it's listening to your body. Am I hungry? Do I need some food, some energy, Or is there another reason? And then, before you eat something, to jot down a couple of thoughts or feelings. What's going on with me right now? What am I feeling right now? Doesn't have to be complete sentences, just a couple of thoughts. And then, if you decide to go ahead and eat, then what am I feeling afterwards? Because we want to increase awareness as well as your capacity to tolerate those unsettling, uncomfortable feelings. So even taking a moment to write some things down delays it, and you're having to sit with the feeling for just a moment longer. And then the idea is to stretch that out, right? To go, and maybe sometimes you choose not to eat. Right. And then how do you feel, right? So it does take some intentionality. And there's going to be days where you go, I don't care, I'm just eating. Mm-hmm. And then other days where you go, no, maybe I'm going to have some tea instead, or something that's, better for me. And then looking at what kinds of foods are you going for. There's lots of comfort foods, which I call mother foods. And then when we are into the salty, crunchy, I call those father foods. And so sometimes they parallel our emotions of either feeling angry or agitated, or needing to get in touch with our power and our aggression, or we're just needing some nurturing and some comfort and, like you said, warmth. And so that helps you to know, okay, what are the things that are missing in my life that I'm needing more of, and what might be some other ways to obtain those
Marilyn,
things.
Do you gravitate more towards the soft foods or the crunchy foods?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe more the soft foods. And I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a component of anxiety, which I have a lifelong anyway.
Yeah.
I'm also a perfectionist, and and I, thank you for saying I don't need to add more Christian guilt, because I carry.
Yes.
I can carry that.
Yeah, because that perfectionism, like I've got to do everything right. And it's got to be just so. No, it doesn't. It just has to be good enough. Good enough is the optimal goal, really. Because perfection becomes too neurotic.
Yeah. Jim, what would you say?
Well, I actually love what Jill said to you, Marilyn. And I am a fellow emotional eater. So I know that when I'm either hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, it all goes toward food for me. And I'll take the chips, or I'll take what I don't know what even soft food is, guys. Is that like ice cream?
Ice cream.
Yeah, I'll just take the sugar. Okay,
I'll
just take the
cookies,
pack. When I was little, I honestly would take a pack of sugar and just not real healthy. And I don't think when you're talking about your body is a temple of God.
That's just a drug, Jim.
It was bad. But so I have gotten better. But I find that there are things that work for me. One is what Jill said when I kind of journal and go, why do I want to even eat this ice cream from the refrigerator with a spoon, as long as my wife's not watching. But you know what? I also find that for me, I go, it's time to take the dog for a walk. And I honestly just, for me, that little exercise, not that taking a dog for a walk is like major exercise, that really helps me. So find what works for you and put that into your, into your life. And so if it's a walk, take a walk. If it's, something else, something else. If it, but know why you're doing it. I'm now kind of almost aware if I'm eating a cookie, then I go, why did I want that cookie? Well, I was either hungry and I could have eaten something a lot better. I could add, some fruit, or I'm angry, or I'm tired, or I'm lonely. And a lot of times I'm tired. When I'm tired, my defenses go down. And so, if I can name it, even if I then still ate the cookie, at least I know why I did that. That's actually really helpful for me. So again, I didn't give you any psychological advice or pretty much spiritual advice.
But that is because awareness is half of the battle.
Right.
Because the food serves to shut down.
Exactly.
And that's why the most unaware people are obese people.
Very interesting.
They have the least amount of insight, I have found.
Yeah. Very interesting.
We have a life recovery workbook for eating disorders available in the newlife.com store. We're going to send that to you, Marilyn. Thank you for calling in today. And it's a new month. How about starting off fresh? Break free from that addiction or that pattern of abuse or even perfectionism. Nothing's going to change if you don't take that first step, which is to call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It might feel scary, but anything worth doing isn't always easy. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Don't hang up when the phone rings. Share what's going on with the caring person who answers the phone, and we'll help you find your next right step. Let this be the day that your healing begins. So many people are waiting to celebrate your healing. And we're going to remain in the studio for another hour to take your calls at 1-800-229-3000. We want to help you too. We being me, Brian Perez, along with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Jim Burns. God bless you guys.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.